And the person was like, so you use your money to go and marry a wife and use your money to buy koboko to flog the wife. And again, Chuk said he was angered in his spirit. And I said, Pastor, I am done. Whether angered in spirit or angered in flesh, I am done. I'm no longer going to stay for this. At that point, my dad got to know. My dad was like, you flogged my daughter with koboko. And my dad told him at that point that send her back home with her children. He said, no, he can't send me home. That he was going to send me home. It's only me that will come home. The children won't come. My father told him, he said, if you want to try me, let her come home with those children. Then you will know who truly I am. And that told him. And that was how Shooks flogged me with Koboko. As funny as it is. And after that day, a lot of things came to my mind. There were times poisoning him came to my mind. After the annoying part was, you see, after every of those abuse, he would still come to you at night and tell you that, oh, you must give him, he paid in full, he has paid. As long as you are under his roof, you will do what he wants and still forcefully have sex. I can't count how many of my 90s that got torn from forceful sex. I can't count how many times I had to treat infections and bruises from the forceful sex and all of that. And it's even the fact that he doesn't care. And he would still do what he wants to do and tell you you're under his roof. As long as you are under his roof, in quotes, you will do as he says. At that point, I just knew that at this point, I need to run for my life. In fact, he was still asking me to cook for him. There's even a day I had the idea in my head to pour powder in his food, as in just pour something, just poison him. At that point, I knew that, nah, Sandra, you are getting too deep into this. And I had to tell myself that if I eventually kill this man, I will go for it and my kids would suffer. So the best thing was for me to walk away. I did not care how I was going to start. I did not care how life was going to be, but I just knew that I needed to choose my life at that point. I just needed to run away. The first attempt to run away failed. He caught me and everything. Second, then, he started locking us inside so that, we can't go out until that fateful day when I had the key. He drove out and I opened the door, carried my children. No, if I wouldn't carry nothing, booked a ride and straight to my father's house. That was
So he was
exactly
locking you inside the house so you
September.
don't go.
Yeah, so that we can't escape. That's exactly September 6th. No,
Oh
September
wow.
5th, 2019. Yeah, that at that point I had to escape. And that was how I left. I only took my documents. As a matter of fact, he even took my laptop away that day. So I couldn't even get my laptop till about 3 years after. So I had to get another. So I took just my certificates and the certificate for the boys and we left. We left. That was how we went back home. Yeah.
Wow.
So
So
it was
and
actually
now you're back home to your
actually really
parents.
it was really tough starting all over. Very tough. Funny enough, my parents were
Yeah.
very supportive. Yeah.
Okay.
They were really supportive. Apart from the fact that I had a tough time with my mom because for her she just felt society pressure and all of that. Oh, her only daughter cannot be divorced. And she fought me every time. Oh, you have to go back. Your mind is so dark. Your mind is too strong. Ah, you have a mind like a man's mind and all of that. You just have to forgive, let go, and all of that. We fought. I fought with my mom. I made up my mind I wasn't going back. He came around. He came around twice after I left here. The first time he came with his uncle, and then he came to Blab. said, yeah, oh, he was giving me a huge amount of money monthly and all of that. Oh, if not that this phone now, this phone is dead. I would have showed you people. But not to him, bank statement was waiting. And when I said, oh, you gave me which money? There's bank statement. He just got dumbfounded. The next thing he went ahead to say, oh, that that's me. I would just lie down. I'll just say, oh, do and stand up. And every time my body is paining me, I cannot even allow him. And he was saying all of those trash in my father's house. And then, when they asked him
Selfishness.
about him locking me out, he actually said it in my father's house that he overslept. And that's when Barrister Okaka said, you overslept. You just said your streets is full, they rape, they steal, and all of that. And now somebody's daughter that is your wife went out and is not back. You could sleep knowing fully well that your street, they rape, they steal. Like you had to even sleep, that you even overslept till the next morning. you know, they talked about,
Yeah,
oh,
he felt
you
overthinking was a
flogged
good
me.
excuse.
Yeah, he thought it was a good excuse. And he said, oh, he just flogged me on my hand. And they looked at him again. You flogged a matured adult with koboko on her hand. Really. Hmm. You know, it was tough. Hmm.
Wow.
I just told them at that point. I told them when they came, I told his uncle, I said, I don't know what you are coming to do here. I said, because first things first, your your nephew said I pinned him down with pregnancy. So I decided to give him freedom. What's he doing in my father's house? I said, secondly, he had said he was going to blind me. He was going to break my head and all of that. I have choose to come to my father. So I said, I am not going back. There's no need. There's no need coming. And since after that time, he never came back to my father's house. Till today. He hasn't seen the children since I think 2019 on 2020 January. He hasn't seen them till date. Like physically, he didn't even bother coming, not seeing them and all of that. Now, starting all over, hmm, it was tough.
Yeah.
I
And so,
saw the stress. Yeah.
yeah, so you left in 2019 and this is 2025. How did you
Yeah.
survive? How did you get back on your feet? Like, what happened? Tell us about that.
Surviving was tough, very tough. I
I cannot
worked
imagine.
like my life depended on it. I worked like help was not coming from anywhere. 2019, when I left, my parents tried their best. Like I said, I went back home with just a clothes, nothing else.
Yeah, you.
It was really tough. My parents had to start buying me sanitary pad all over. Just imagine a child that was already a graduate who had started life. It was that bad. I didn't have anything. And then they will have to buy diapers for my children. There were times that the children's diapers got exhausted and I would hide. I won't tell my parents. And they'll get to find out my dad would be so angry, like, why will I not do that? Why I was so embarrassed. I felt so ashamed of myself. Now, in the midst of all this, my parents didn't give up. Oh. They just care. My dad really did his best. Like he tried. Contacted friends trying to get me a job. I went to submit CVs and all of that. Job wasn't coming forth. My father made it a point of duty when he collects his pension, he gives me at least 20K and so, oh, Sandra, just buy something with it, even if it's a clothes or a dress. And my children went back with nothing. My parents were literally hiding me inside the house for months because I was looking. In fact, I'll share a picture. I was looking, forget it. Nothing talk about, nothing to talk about. My mom used to call me refugee at that time. My uncles saw me, and for the first time I saw my uncles cry was when they saw me. My uncles who grew up in my father's was like, he wept. And I was like, Sandra, is this you? How? It was that bad. And so I had to start all over. Somehow, somewhere, I just had to start. I started by a friend helping with a sewing machine. And then I bought some sewing materials. I put it at the front of my father's house and started just doing something, regardless, no matter how small it was, to just help myself. Since jobs weren't coming forth. At the time, it was looking like I was almost getting depressed. I needed a laptop so desperately. I couldn't afford one. I didn't even have the money. Somehow my parents found a way, my mom and my dad found a way to get me a laptop, get me money to get a laptop, which I got. Again, I started doing small, small jobs here and there, architectural jobs. Then again, somehow I got a construction contract from my client, the Navy officer. I had to come to Lagos, leave my children with my parents. I was on site for months. All through that COVID period, I was on lockdown sites. Yeah.
Oh
So I was
wow.
working and all of that. So every of the money I was able to save, I was using to buy sewing machines and all of that. As I was saving from the work, whatever I was getting as my contract, I was using to buy sewing machines. At the time, there was issues with the contract and all of that. So contract stopped. I didn't go back to site. I had to somehow find a way to survive. So those machines I had bought, I had to pack them like, okay, I should start sewing. But again, I had been baking for, if I count from now, I've been baking for about 14, 15 years. Yeah. So at that time, I just felt, okay, maybe this is the time to actually go and do a master's baking class and all of that. Then the challenge of accommodation came in. I didn't have anywhere. So I called one of my seniors from my secondary school alumni, Sister Toby. In fact, she was in fact, she took me as family. She and her mom accommodated me, fed me. Like, I didn't even feel it at all. I didn't feel it because my baking school was close to the place. All I could afford at that time was to save up for my school fees. It was quite expensive at that time, paid for the fees and then the practical money and all of it. Now, while I was doing this baking class, trust me, I cried every other day. Hmm. It was exhausting. Like, it was frustrating. I was struggling on my own. I had to do changing to sell so that I could be able to finish up that training. And in the midst of that, sometimes my mom would just call and start quarreling with me and say, "Oh, your mind is too hard. You just go back to your husband and all of that." And then when we start quarreling, my mom will say, "Oh, come and carry your children. I cannot hold your children for you," and all of that. I'll start crying. I'll be in baking school, I'll be crying. My colleagues will come and like, "Sandra, stop crying. You have to console me somehow." I'll get to the house, Sister Tobe's mommy will say, "Ah, Sandra, what happened? Why are you dull? Oh, did your mommy call you again? Don't worry, my daughter, don't worry, don't worry. You'll be fine. I have a cold stout. Will you drink?" She was that funny grandma, sweet woman. She'll just find a way to help me come alive. I could remember there was a time she even called my mom and said, "Ah, don't worry, this one I've adopted her. Since you want to send her, get another one, send her. This one is not my own. Please don't disturb my daughter again." It was really tough. It was tough. Sister Toby and her mom was so supportive. My dad also was doing his best. My brothers tried their best also. One of my brothers, my immediate brother, had to stay in Afuze just to at least help with my children
Oh wow.
because they were at home, my parents. It was really tough, like very tough. My brother had to be the one doing school run and all of that with my dad. For the boys, it was tough. It was very tough. I, on the other hand, I was in Lagos trying to just find my feet and find my way back to surviving. And then baking school came and ended. Obviously, I don't have a house in Lagos. I needed to return back. So I took my things. I went back to Afuze. At this time, I was able to afford an oven and all of that. So I put it at the front of my father's house. I started baking. I made foil plate cakes in Afuze and all of that. Made small chops. I was making it every day, selling for 400, 500 at least. It was small, but it was getting something. Along with the drawing jobs I was getting and all of that. And in 2020, towards the end of 2020, I just knew I needed to do something different. I needed to get my master's done in architecture. At that point, my dad bought form for me in Ekpoma, but it didn't come up. So Ekpoma was delaying strike and all of that. I was frustrated staying at home with me and my mom always quarreling. Go back, don't go back, come back, don't, it was a lot. Emotionally draining, physically, it was draining. So I took a bold step and told my dad I was going back to Lagos. That I need to be able to do my masters, and I need somewhere to be able to do my masters and also to be able to work. And I think it's only Lagos that could offer me that opportunity at that time. So I came back to Lagos. A friend helped squatted me. And I was with her in that her room in her father's house. I stayed with them for some months. And then when I was there, jobs were not coming. Hmm. Jobs were not coming. I applied to Unilag for my master's, still waiting for admissions, jobs were not coming. At a point, I started making donuts and hawk on the streets because it was getting tough. I was already having to take a lot of online app loans to be able to pay my children's schools. Despite the fact that I was going through all of those things, I made sure that regardless of how difficult it was, I tried to send school fees for my children to my parents. I tried to send groceries, no matter how small it was. I just tried to do the things to my parents, because they were helping me at that time. So, I kept selling donuts. I'll go to the market sometimes. Whenever I see a woman carrying a baby, I'll just approach them. I'm like, oh, good afternoon. My name is so, 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 so. I'm actually into cakes. I make very nice cakes, in case your baby wants to turn a year old and all of that. I got clients. I actually got clients who patronized me that way. Started talking to them. And there came one day, a friend of mine, Lizzie, called and said, Sandra, I saw a job opening, a friend's page. Oh, he's my friend. He does job recruiting. It's an architectural job for a real estate firm, and I know you can do it. I was like, this, are you sure? She said, Sandra, I know you can do it. I was doubting myself, honestly, because I haven't worked architecture for a while before then. I stopped working architecture for a while. She just kept telling me, Lizzie, just Sandra, why don't you just try? Just try, just try. And I went ahead, and lo and behold, I got the job.
Wow.
That felt like a big throw. So when I got the job, I started working. I had to let them know I had kids, twin boys, and they were actually not with me. They were my parents, and they are young. But I always try to make sure that I go to see them once every month or once every 2 months. So I told them already at the beginning, like I'll have to go and see them. So I'll just need like 3 or 4 days to go see them every month or once every 2 months and all of that. So I started working with the company and everything was going on smoothly. 4 months into working for the company, excuse me. Like I said, Unilag's admission didn't come at that time. Later it came out, but when the admission came out, the course they gave was not architecture, masters in architecture. So I didn't want to do it because I wanted masters in architecture. So I didn't pick Unilag. Then I have a godfather in architecture, architect Moses. I called him. He then told me that Sandra, come to Caleb. Come and do your masters in Caleb. I was like, at that time he was also in Caleb. I was like, daddy, Caleb. How much is Caleb? When he told me the school fees, 2 million plus. I was like, where am I going to get that money from? My salary was just 120 or yeah, 120,000 naira at that time, right? Yeah. And mind you, I remembered where after like 2 months after I got the job, I had to take IOU from the office to be able to get my own house now, to get a self-contained. I got the house, I moved in, no mattress, nothing. I was just sleeping on the floor with my duvet. For about 2 months there, before I was able to get a mattress and all of that. So hearing that amount, I'm like, where am I going to get it from? I already even took IOU to pay my rent. So which will be definitely deducted from my salary. He just kept on pressing me. I was like, Sandra, I know you can do it. And he bought the form, I applied, and lo and behold, I got the admission. Ha! Admission has come. Oh. Now it's time is to resume school. School fees was not cheap. And now they gave opportunity for instrumental payment, but even the instrumental payment was not cheap. I think the first payment we were going to make at that time was about 300K. I didn't even have 100,000 naira as my savings account. I did not have. I didn't even have 50,000. What am I even saying? So I didn't even know I was going to pay it. I had somebody who promised to help. But when the time came, the person that told me, "Oh, I'm going to be giving you 50,000 naira every month." I was like, what? If it's 50,000 naira, why? I don't need to, I don't need this, all of that. I thought the person was joking, but it turned out to be like the person was serious. And I like, oh no. So, hmm, first instrumental payment, I had to collect IOE again from the office. Somehow, I paid it. After paying it, I had to now re strategize. What did I start doing? I started baking. So I close from the office at 6 p.m. I get to my house like 8 p.m. Anybody that knows Lekki Ajah Road, the traffic is crazy. So my office was around Lekki and I was staying in Ajah. I'll close at 6 p.m. Hmm. Before I'll get bus, problem. Before I'll get home, let's just say 8:30, sometimes 9 safe. When I get home at that time, I'll start baking. I will bake sometimes till 2 a.m. I'll not sleep from 2 a.m. to like 5. 5:30, I'm up again. I start preparing because by 6 I have to leave to avoid traffic on my way to work. So sometimes during break I have to be sleeping in my office. I'll make cakes in foil plates and all of that. Then I get orders. I'll take to the office. So I sell those cakes. I was using it to sustain myself for feeding and transportation. Then the salary I was using it to gradually offset my school fees bills and all of that. That was how I started gradually trying to find a way to manage and survive and all of that. So I kept baking and all of that. Now, when I got my admission to school, mind you, the company said I have three options because I just started working with them. That I either defer the admission, resign, or what's the third one? Take half salary. Yes, take 50% salary. So I told them I pick resign. They're like, Sandra, why? You need this job. The children need this job. Sometimes again, society, when they know your situations, they just feel that. So I told them something. I said, in the first place, I came to Lagos for a reason. The reason I came to Lagos was because I want to be able to do my master's and work. I remember before I left my ex-husband, I was supposed to have done my master's years ago. He kicked against it. He refused, telling my parents that, oh no, no, I cannot do my master's. He wasn't going to pay. So, at that point when I left, I just felt that that was a goal I needed to achieve. I needed to achieve that goal in my career. And as an architect, without your master's degree, you can't even become a professional architect. You can't become a license. You won't be able to write the license exam. So you just be an architect for mouth, street architect, not a licensed architect. And that was not my plan because for crying out loud, I'd come a long way. So I should get to the peak of my career. So somehow, I just told them I resigned. So they said, oh, you'll be resigning one more time. I said, okay, no problem. Now they kept calling me, oh, why don't you take 50% salary? I said, because it will not do anything. There's no need. I can't be coming to work and take 50% salary 4 days in a week, all of that. So after all back forth, and all of that, I was so surprised. The day I was supposed to resign, I was supposed to stop. I was told that I'm retained. I should stay. I was like, oh wow.
Wow.
So what changed? I had to ask. So what changed? They're like, oh, they discovered that yeah, I've been useful to the company and all of that, my input and all of that. So they decided that that there's no need. They can't cope with me going to school. I was like, wow, thank you. I said, so the what do I have to offer to be able to do this? I had to ask. So they're like, oh, so I'll have to work every Saturdays. Before I used to work on like if I work this Saturday, I don't work the next. So now at that point I needed to work every Saturdays. And the other one was that what was the other one? Oh, sometimes even on Sundays I had to work. I was like, okay, it's fine by me, no problem. It's not a big deal. I could cope. So I started all of that, started juggling, or sometimes on Sundays, as I'm working and all of that. So I had to just find a way to combine everything just to survive. And somehow, it got tough, it got tougher and all of that. And I resigned from that job, got a job with MRS, and left MRS too after a lot of bully here and there. And then I had to start my own after I got my master's degree. Yeah. So I got my master's degree in architecture. I succeeded in getting the master's degree that they once told me I can't get and all of that. And started my own business, my own construction and interior. It wasn't easy. I made mistakes, I got cheated, I lost money, I got into debt, like I'd entered debt, I've come out of debt, and I got cheated, I got bad jobs from workers and all of that. I just started my own and I just kept pushing. Yes, I am not where I want to be, but I can confidently say that I am grateful to God. Now I am on the journey to my second master's degree, which who would have thought? I never thought it would have been possible, but here I am. Second journey.
Wow, Sandra, you're a strong
Mhm.
woman. You're a strong woman. See, there's a video I made. There's a video I made of how desperation can, push someone. Like you didn't go to any business school, but I think some people can learn. Not some people. People can learn from your marketing skills, how you would go to somebody, a lady, just because the lady has a baby and you tell them, oh, I bake cake in case your child turns a year old. I'll help, and then you told me, I mean, you didn't just tell them, but you also got clients from that process. So that is something that people can learn. When you are in a situation, I mean, desperation sometimes is used in a bad form, but again, it can be something that is good because you're just tired, you're desperate to leave that situation, you know you or some people call it disgust, like you were tired, you were like, no. There are some points you brought your sewing machine out in front of your father's house. I mean, with all the stigma, I know we grew up in the same village, so I know what people will be, how they'll be wagging their tongue, just see you and say, oh, she should be in her husband's house, but now she's here sewing clothes. I can imagine what, because it's a small village, so everything that is happening, people can see. And I salute you, like you are a strong woman. And again, I'm glad you left, because you said at some point you almost poisoned him. So you could have had blood on your hands right now as we speak. And someone could have died. We don't know if it would have been you or it would have been your ex-husband. Or I'm just glad that you were able to make it out alive, and you didn't just make it out, though it was hard and tough at the beginning, but you were able to, from through your hard work, through your tenacity, through your not giving up, to eventually make out something. And then you have a business of your own. You started working, you got your master's in that process. It's not as if you were waiting for abundance somewhere, or you're waiting for a brother or an uncle abroad or a sister, but you were just fighting. You kept on fighting. Your parents were watching your children, and then you will still struggle and send them school fees. My goodness. My goodness. Wow. Like I said, a lot of people, a lot, including me, your desperation is something else. As I'm hearing you right now, I'm telling myself, okay, I need to push further than I'm currently pushing. That's what I'm telling myself. I'm thinking of what can I do right now to further push myself from where I am to where I want to be. That's what I'm thinking. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can hear you and understand that life doesn't happen by you folding your hands or looking up to one uncle or one brother or one sister out there. What you want from life, you make it by yourself, and that's what I'm saying. And what do you have to tell ladies or gentlemen that are in, or that were in your kind of situation, and right now they are currently in there? They are saying, "Oh, I want to be there because of my children," and we know that people have died in relationship like that, and so people are still going to die if they don't take the right step. What do you have to tell them, Sandra?